You were only 14. No longer a child, but not an adult either. Just mature enough for others to look at you differently. And that was enough for everything to change. Life in the small village near Shanghai had always been predictable. The noise of the market, the smell of rice in the morning wind, your father, an inconspicuous official, so obedient and quiet that no one ever remembered him. But that was precisely why they chose you. Where others might resist, your family had no right even to raise their voice. It all happened suddenly. Dawn had not yet broken when 3 dark figures knocked at the gate. Their long robes swayed as if carrying the sentence themselves. No explanations, no words of comfort, only a rolled-up scroll, a red seal of wax, and a name written in black ink. Your name. Your mother collapsed to her knees, your father bowed, and in his bow there was no struggle, no despair, only submission. And to you they said, "Wash and prepare yourself." The water burned your skin as they began to scrub you with rough hands. Your hair was pulled into a tight knot, soaked with oil, arranged in a foreign, adult hairstyle. Silk shoes too narrow to walk in were placed on your feet. A red dress bound your chest and stomach so tightly it was hard to breathe. Everything happened quickly, as if it wasn't you living this life, but someone else. The woman who accompanied you turned her eyes away, unable to look directly. Only quietly, so no one else could hear, she whispered, "Do not cry. The palace tolerates no traces." The carriage waited at the gates. Your mother still remained on the ground, your father still bowed, and you stepped inside, not realizing that the road out of the village would never return you home. The journey lasted several days. Outside, landscapes flickered past, fields, rivers, hills, and all seemed distant, as though they no longer belonged to you. No one spoke a word along the way. At night, they laid you down on lacquered wood covered with foreign silk. Not yours. You closed your eyes and saw your mother's hands, feeling their warmth, but woke to the muffled sound of drums in the distance. When at last the walls of Beijing appeared, you thought you had entered another world. The forbidden city rose from the earth as though swallowing the sky. Golden roofs blazed like fire, and blood-colored walls surrounded you like bars. Every door was guarded, every glance measured. From that moment you were no longer a daughter, no longer a person. Now you belonged to the emperor. They led you through the gate of heavenly purity. The floor was laid with white jade, so smooth that trembling hands reflected in it. In the hall, other girls waited. Their faces were frozen, their eyes empty. They looked like dolls arranged in a row. You tried to speak, to ask why you were brought here, what would happen next. But the eunuch raised his hand, and you fell silent at once. The corridor into which you were led narrowed with every step. Windowless walls covered with carved dragons stretched endlessly. Behind the doors came strange sounds, weeping, splashing water, tearing fabric. Then the path was blocked by an old woman in black clothing. Her face, deeply lined, seemed strict of expression. She looked at you, the gaze of a butcher upon future meat. Her lips moved. "Suitable." The doors closed behind you. Candlelight cut into your eyes, and for the first time you understood. This was not the beginning of a new life. It was the beginning of a trial that would decide whether you remained under these roofs on soft silk or vanished without a trace. In the Forbidden City, the worth of a girl was measured not by kindness, not by mind, not by heart. Here, they looked at only one thing:
whether someone had touched you before. You are not asked questions. There is no choice here, only command. The woman in black, with a movement of her hand, shows undress. In her voice there is no request, only a dry order. You freeze for a moment, but beside you stands a eunuch with an empty face and gloves on his hands. He does not wait. The fabric tears, the knot in your hair rips, and you remain as no one has ever seen you. You want to cry out, but it is already clear, in this room they do not consider you human. You are not alone. Along the wall sit other girls, silent, scorched by fear, their gaze fixed on the floor. No one cries, not because it does not hurt, because fear has already made tears impossible. The cleansing begins. Not warm, not caring, but icy buckets, burning to the skin with chills. Old hands clenched into fists, fingers hard as sandpaper, scrub your skin until red blotches bloom. Hair is soaped so fiercely that your head throbs with pain. They wash you all over, armpits, back, thighs. You flinch, a slap across the cheek. Do not move, the emperor does not like dirt. Nails are cut down to the flesh, hair checked for lice, your face bleached with pearl powder until it is whiter than paper. Your skin is rubbed with oils until it gleams as though they are polishing a statue. No one explains why. No one says what will come next. Then, a long corridor, rows of identical robes the color of sky blue. The silk is cold, heavy. There is no choice. One is handed to you. You put it on, feeling how it sits like a foreign weight, as if stealing away the remnants of your past. Around your waist, they tie a red sash tight. In your village, this color meant joy, wedding, celebration. Here it means only one thing: unverified, a label on the body that cannot be removed. They lead you past a row of bronze mirrors. In the reflection, you look at yourself and do not recognize. The face seems older, paler, empty, as if it was not you who came here, but your shadow. A chime, thin, sharp like a needle. In the corridor, the doors open. One of the girls is called by name. She rises, steps forward. The others remain on their knees. Silence. Only breathing. You want to ask, where did they take her? But your voice is stuck. The eunuch commands, kneel. Do not look up. Do not open your mouth. Even when cries sound ahead, even when one door closes and no one comes back.
In this moment you understand. Everything they do to you is called preparation. But in truth, it is not preparation. It is erasure. Here they destroy names, voices, memories. They leave only the body, only the question untouched, or already not. Because within these walls, anyone without an answer turns into a mistake, and the emperor does not need mistakes. The silence stretches into eternity. The stone slabs under your knees are cold, and this cold crawls higher into your bones. Time has ceased to exist. The girls are taken one by one. Footsteps, the creak of doors, and emptiness afterward. Some return, some do not. You try not to count, but still you see faces vanish. The red sash at your waist grows heavier, as if pressing down on you itself. You are merchandise, not yet inspected, not yet marked, and the longer you wait, the clearer you realize behind the door is not an exam, it is a sentence. The bell rings again. Your heart stops. A shadow falls on the threshold. The eunuch loudly reads your name. Your legs refuse, but you rise. Follow him. The corridor seems endless, walls draped with scarlet silk, lanterns flickering with trembling light. On the way, another servant appears, carrying a tray. On it lies a neatly folded piece of fabric with stains of dark liquid. He does not lift his eyes, he only walks on. The door ahead is heavy, black lacquer gleaming in the candlelight. When it opens, the smell strikes your face. Not blood, and not the scent of incense. Something thick, disturbing, like silence itself. Inside it is half dark. Iron candlesticks, a carpet on the floor, a low table. At the table sits an old woman with knotty hands like ropes. Beside her, a eunuch with a brush and a scroll. No greeting, no glance, only a short command. Lie down. To resist is pointless. You lower yourself onto the mat. The thin silk of the robe does not hide the scratching rough weave. The old woman slowly lowers herself beside you, lifts the edge of your clothing, without a word, without permission. Air disappears from your lungs. Do not move, a dry voice, as if spoken 1,000 times.
You press your gaze into the ceiling. Smoky stains, cracks in the plaster. You count them. Anything not to feel the touches. In your mind, you draw a field, a river, grass, anything but this moment. But imagination does not save you. You are here, and foreign hands decide your fate. The old woman mutters under her breath, no traces, comb intact, resistance minimal. The eunuch writes down every word, as though it were the tally of a shop. You think, how many such scrolls have already been stacked in the archives? How many bodies described in the same words? There are no tears. You do not allow them, because any emotion is a reason to call you defiant, and then the result will be different. At the end, the old woman takes a cloth, a thin ritual with nothing to do with medicine. She presses it against your body and waits. In their eyes, purity is measured not by heart, but by a drop upon fabric. But what if the body leaves no trace? What if all this is a lie? No one cares. Here they seek not truth, but submission. There is no mark on the cloth. The old woman nods once. Fit. It is not praise, not recognition, just a label. Suitable. The eunuch approaches, removes the red sash. In its place they put a new one, white and gold, interwoven, a sign of admission. You leave the room already different, but a part of you remains there, on the mat, beneath the candles, in the old woman's hands, a part that can never be returned. In the corridor, another girl waits for her turn. Her eyes glance at your sash and her hands tremble. You want to say to her, run, but you stay silent, because you yourself did not run, because you know, here it is impossible. You have passed, but along with it, you have stepped further away from yourself. Here, in the heart of the empire, girls are turned not into people, but into proofs. Proofs of origin, of submission, of the power of authority. And now you are one of them. You sit among the others, those who returned. No one speaks aloud, but all know not everyone comes back through that door. The silence presses heavier than any wall. The girls around breathe evenly, as if learning to be statues. Only the eyes betray them at times, some empty, some bewildered, some staring as if their soul was left behind. You look at their sashes, white, golden, shimmering, all marked with the sign suitable, but there is no joy,
no relief. You too waited for something to flare inside, a feeling that you preserved life, proved strength. But there is nothing, only emptiness. Because this is not victory, but reprieve.
Something else hangs in the air. Rumors, whispers about those who did not pass. They are not spoken of openly, but everyone has heard the stories. Some are sent back home, but home no longer accepts them. Family turns away, the name is erased, life collapses. Some are left here, but not as the chosen, as shadows. They are sent to black work, kitchens, storerooms, where they will wash, scrub, haul water until their youth fades. And there are others, those about whom even whispers are reluctant. They vanish completely, without a trace. One day a story reaches you, a girl of 16, too confident, said she would keep herself for marriage, not for a foreign ruler. Pins were found in her sleeves. She did not return. No one saw where she was taken. No one asked. And there are those who were broken earlier, on the road here, by soldiers, by relatives, by traitors of fates. Girls who had already endured violence, but were forced to pretend to be pure. They fear more than anyone. They try to pass the trial with all their strength, but their bodies betray them. And then they are branded not as victims, but as spoiled. You listen to all this and understand you were lucky, but the word tastes bitter. Lucky not to die, lucky not to vanish.
You are moved to another part of the palace. Here, everything is quieter, narrower. The floors still gleam, the walls still shine, but the air is heavier. Now you belong to the inner court. Here, too, there is order. At the top, the empress, the only wife by law. Beneath her, the noble consort. Then 6 lesser consorts. And below them, dozens, hundreds of girls like you. No title, no protection. You are only a name on a list, a body in waiting. They teach you new rules. The clothes are softer, the hairstyle changes, your face is repainted. You must appear not innocent, but desirable. Every movement is rehearsed, a step, light like the wind. A bow, not too deep, for you are not a servant. The voice, soft, like the rustle of paper, and only if you are spoken to. The rules are endless. Do not look a eunuch in the eyes. Never turn your back to the empress. Do not sit before the consort above you sits. Do not wear red. Do not wear yellow. Do not be too silent, but also not too bold. And never, never recall the trial. You sleep on silk mats, eat rice and tea. Every morning you wake with one thought. What if today they call your name? But the days pass. Sometimes they choose one of the girls, sometimes no one. You wait, but the summons never comes. And then you understand another terrible truth. Passing the trial does not mean being chosen. It is only the first step. Here there are dozens, hundreds like you, each waiting. And if they never call you, you will remain here forever. The Forbidden City does not release those who have entered. To leave is possible only by the will of the ruler himself, and that happens more rarely than snow in summer. Even if you are never once summoned to him, even if you live here for years in waiting, you are still his property. You try to grow accustomed. You walk in the gardens where lotuses bloom, learn to recognize at a glance who is dangerous, who envious, who quietly weeps at night. You meet those who have already waited many years. One day you hear the story of a girl who was forgotten. She lived in a room for 4 years until illness took her. The door was opened only when the smell filled the corridors. You look back at your white and gold sash and understand you passed the inspection. You preserved yourself, but it gives no guarantees. Perhaps you will simply dissolve in waiting, like dozens of others. And beyond the thin palace walls at midnight, sometimes a fire is seen. Servants turn away. Do not ask. All know they are burning what is better not to speak of. And one day into the hall they bring a new girl, very young, perhaps 13. She barely understands the language, and the maids whisper, "Provincial." You look at her and you know what awaits her. You want to warn her, but you stay silent, because any word is the risk of disappearing yourself. And the cycle continues. New cloth, new sash, new inspection. The palace does not stop.
It always sounds like a thunderclap. An ordinary day, tea cold, the garden quiet, birds singing as always, and suddenly a eunuch in gold trimming appears and pronounces a name. Yours. The world around freezes. The girls beside you look at you, some with envy, others with relief that it is not them. To be chosen is not a reward. It is a trial of another kind. Your throat dries, your knees buckle, but you rise, feeling the sticky silk cling to your back with sweat. They lead you where you have been before, to the hall of preparation, but now everything is different. No cold water and beatings, no white cloth and butcher's gazes. Now you are not suspect, now you are chosen. But that does not make it easier. Women anoint you with oils smelling of jasmine and fat. The skin becomes slippery, like porcelain. The face is painted to the whiteness of paper, the brows made thin, the lips bright red, like the mark of a seal. A dot is placed on your forehead, the sign of desire. Your robe is changed, the blue gown carried away, and in its place, a golden crimson one embroidered with dragons. The sleeves so long that without help you cannot move. Instructions pour, one after another. Do not dare speak first. Do not look into the eyes. Do not flinch if he touches. If you weep, you will be removed. If you disobey, you will be punished. And if you disappoint, you will simply never be summoned again. Night. They carry you in a palanquin through the empty corridors. The forbidden city seems dead, too silent, as if itself frozen in expectation. The moon hangs high, sharp as a blade. At last they bring you to the red gates. These are the ruler's chambers, the place few ever reach. The jade floor chills your bare feet. Candles burn in lanterns shaped like phoenixes, casting long shadows. The eunuchs leave you before the door and vanish. You are alone. The door creaks and opens. Inside, a shadow behind a silk curtain. He sits motionless, his silhouette guessed in the candlelight. Heavy, severe, like the figure of power itself. You fall into a deep bow until your forehead touches the floor. Silence, then a voice, calm but cold. Come closer. Your steps are almost soundless, sleeves rustling like water. You walk toward him, feeling as though approaching not a man, but an idol. But you have already heard all the stories about him, of his cruel outbursts, of his indifference, of how he may forget a name during a conversation, or may not look at you at all. And you pray that he does not look. The curtain parts, and for the first time you see the face. Young, not old, but the gaze indifferent. He looks at you as at a rare vase. Name? He asks. You speak the one given to you in the palace, not your real one, the real one burned away with the past. He nods. No smile, no rage, only a studying gaze. The servants remove your clothing, and you remain almost naked, only pearls in your hair and paint on your face. He shows neither desire nor disgust. He simply observes. Sit. You obey. And suddenly something strange happens. He asks a question, not a command, not an assessment.
He asks where you are from, what flowers bloom there in spring. You answer cautiously. He asks another question, and another. The conversation lasts longer than you expected, but you realize he does not want to know you. He only decides whether you are worth remaining in his memory.
His hand touches your palm, briefly, coldly. You do not pull back. You cannot. Then he rises, one motion of the hand. You may go. You bow again, receive your robe back, and leave. The stars beyond the walls are the same, but you have changed. You have crossed an invisible line from which there is no return. In the morning, your room is different, the food hotter, the fabrics newer, the guards more attentive. No one says it directly, but everyone knows. You were there. And that means now the game around you becomes more dangerous. The other girls smile stiffly. Someone hisses behind your back. One spits at the place where you passed. In the evening, you find your dress torn to shreds. No one asks who did it. Everyone understands. And now you realize you are no longer invisible. You exist in his memory, and that is power. But power here is not yours. It is like a fragrance. It lures, but quickly disperses. You no longer scream, no longer cry, no longer ask the question, why me? Not because you became strong, but because silence is the only thing that belongs to you. 2 years have passed since that day when they laid you on the mat and pressed the cloth to your body, deciding your fate. You passed, you were chosen, you played this game, and you are still here. Not free, but alive. You once thought that survival was pride, an inner core, but survival in the palace turned out to be different. It is the art of disappearing without dissolving. It is the ability to become a shadow, to exist but not draw attention, to breathe evenly without betraying yourself. It is constant diminishing, bending so far that no one finds anything to break. You remember Li Mei. She softly hummed when she combed her hair. She had a birthmark on her wrist in the shape of a drop. Last winter, she fell silent. The servants found her body in the lotus pond. The waters did not splash. No one said a word. Her name was never spoken again. But in your memory, she remained louder than when she lived, because her end could have been yours, still could. You understand. You did not survive because of strength. You survived because of silence. And yet even here, even in this silence, they call you again. At night, when the corridors are full of trembling lantern light, they lead you to the chambers. He is there. This time, the air hangs heavy with the smell of wine and old incense. Few words are spoken. You do what you were taught. Do not flinch. Do not hold your breath. You are an empty shell that obeys command. When it ends, he turns away like a man who does not care. You may go. And in that instant, your value is reduced to nothing.
You return through the red corridors, while fire's shadow dances on the walls, and it seems it is not yours. In your own room you see the mirror. For years you avoided looking directly, but today you look. The face reflected is not yours. Powder makes the skin pale, the lips scarlet, the eyes dull. You search for the girl from the village, the one who rode in the carriage and dreamed of returning home. But she is gone. She remained back where they first inspected you, or on that night when you kept silent though you wanted to scream.
Hard to say in which moment she disappeared. You sit by the window, gaze at the moon, the same moon under which you arrived here. But the girl who looked at it then will never leave through the gates again. You begin to understand the palace does not only test, it grinds. It does not kill at once, it slowly draws everything out of you until only a shell remains. You are alive, but it is life without yourself. And even if one day they release you, in old age by special mercy, the palace will still not release you. It will remain inside, like dust in the lungs, like silence in the bones, like shadows that wear your face when you close your eyes. You are not a girl, not a woman. You are memory in skin. And perhaps that is the most frightening. Here many did not die because they resisted, but because they learned to obey. In history, their names were erased, hidden behind the word concubine. But behind that word lies not luxury, but endless trials, waiting, and slow disappearance.